Hello, welcome to the latest installment of the SJ Feast speaker series, hosted by the South Jersey Farmers Equity and Sustainability Team, which is also known as Feast, and which the project is led by the Pinelands Preservation Alliance in support of from the New Jersey Food Democracy Collaborative. So tonight we have Claire Sullivan from Food Shed to talk about their work and how they're redefining the term broker in the local produce space. What else? Let's see. Maybe I'll quickly share about SJ Feast. So I'll share my screen. So SJ Feast is, like I mentioned, a project for South Jersey farmers, and it is to essentially support a group of farmers to figure out if they would like to start some type of collective or food cooperative, and sort of what model they'd like to replicate. And we'll be leading strategic planning process in order to figure that out. So this conversation is sort of guiding that strategic planning process. So one project that we've got active right now is the South Jersey Producer Survey that's live, and that's really to assess the current market opportunities that are present in South Jersey and to gauge interest from farmers who might be interested in joining this cooperative of sorts that will form. The website also has all of our previous speaker events and upcoming ones. And then this is also where you'll find contact information for Jonathan, because we are still looking for more farmers to join SJ Feast, and we'd love to have you. This is the perfect time to join because we're about to start the strategic planning process, and we'd love to have you. So that's where you can find that. Yeah, I think that's all I have on SJ Feast. Basically, the agenda for tonight is Claire will lead the first half with a quick presentation, and we'll ask questions throughout. So yeah, Claire, it is all yours.
All right, thank you. I'm very excited to be here to talk to your group. So thanks very much for inviting me. As Rachel said, my name is Claire Sullivan. I'm a co-founder of Food Shed. Food Shed started in about 2017 on the East Coast. Actually, we're now national, but we started working with a lot of farmers, mainly in New York, a little bit in New Jersey. And we are a new style of broker. I would say a sort of a socially oriented food distributor that aims to increase the access of small and medium-sized farmers that have been kind of displaced from major retailers. So we really focus on bringing those producers back into the supply chain. I started Food Shed. I also have a background in agricultural research and extension and had worked a lot in the tropics with small farmers and was living in New York and working at Columbia University and was kind of interested in seeing some of the same access issues that I've seen with those farmers in the US. And so started this tech-enabled food distributor. And I am going to start just by sharing this small explainer video we just produced with you guys. So let me see if I can grab the right screen and just start this over. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Perfect.
We can see it, and hopefully we'll be able to hear it.
Yeah, that's always the tricky part.
You may have heard people say that our food system is broken. The truth? It's breaking under pressure from climate change, labor issues, and global tensions. And we all need to eat. So let's get to fixing it. Meet FoodShed.io, the supply chain solution built to fix our food system, working with farmers, retailers, and everyone in between. It's not just for people who can afford to buy the fanciest food, but for everyone. We work within existing systems, helping farmers and buyers connect through smart software that simplifies planning, forecasting, and logistics. Buyers set their standards, quality, food safety, and sustainability goals, and the platform matches them with the best available products. Foodshed.io handles delivery and integrates with accounting and inventory systems, making the process seamless. Farmers set up profiles, certifications, and crops. We support them with tools and guidance, food safety, logistics, and marketing, so they can succeed in new markets. Farmers update their availability, receive orders, and communicate clearly with buyers. No more confusion or red tape. Our nationwide network of family-owned farms is the backbone of a smarter, safer, and more resilient food system. Because growing food close to where it's eaten just makes sense. It's safer, fresher, more nutritious, and better for everyone. That's Foodshed.io, the nationwide local food system. Nice to meet you.
Cute.
That was great.
Thank you. Thank you. It's actually it's like 99.5% done, but I thought it was ready enough to share with you guys. All right, now I'm just gonna throw these slides up for a minute. Can you guys see them?
Great.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so I won't spend a lot of time on this, and some of what I'm going to start with reiterates a bit what's in the what was in the video, and I know you guys are dealing with a lot of these issues, but obviously we need more resilient supply chains and sustainable, equitable food systems in our country, and we're seeing, a real increase in some of the risks in the supply chain. There's been major climate disruptions. There's been transportation disruptions, labor issues, issues with uncertainty around tariff policy. And those issues are really aggravated by the fact that so much of our food is grown in a small number of places and dominated by a few really big players. Let's see if I can advance this slide. Yeah. And can be really hard because the major grocers and retailers in this space, it's very hard as they've kind of focused on scaling, everything has scaled up over the last few decades, and big actors really dominate the space. The major buyers can have a huge impact because their decisions make a big difference. If you can get a big actor like Walmart or Kroger or a small regional grocer to do something, it has a big impact. But they've all been behaving in a pretty similar way and sourcing from very conventional growers. So all of the systems in that space are really designed to do that. And they don't want to buy anymore from local growers that used to be really important sources, especially of fresh produce in the country. But I think consumers are really pushing back on that. And there's a lot of interest in getting local produce, not just at farmers markets, which have continued to be a super important space, but also from their regional place where a consumer buys a lot of their food, like their local grocery store or even the big box chains. But for farmers, it's really hard to access these growers. And I'm just going to duck in and open my door because my dog is like scratching and scratching right back. She's not going to come in. She's going to just sit there and scratch. So what Foodshed tries to do is really disrupt that and make it easier for farmers to access those really important buyers in our food system and make it simpler for those buyers to source from this like really complex network of small and medium-sized farmers that grow a wide range of products and can be really challenging to access. So we saw this problem as we started out as a really small farm in New York and worked with other growers, and we sort of thought that we could create a tech solution that would make that whole challenge at the middle of the supply chain smoother, both for the farmers and for the buyers. So how did we do that? And I can talk a little, I'm going to gloss over some of we've evolved, as we started out with kind of a conception of how to do this, and then we really had to evolve. We thought we could be like a tech solution that would solve everything. And we realized that both of this, the produce supply chain in particular, is really slow to make changes and really not that tech savvy on either side. So the tech platform can be part of it, and I think it really helps kind of make this bridge this gap in the supply chain. But a tech solution alone does not address these issues. So we found that as a company, we have to be like a tech-enabled platform that makes the supply chain easy and also really needs to have a team of people that understands both sides. So understands what do the farmers need and what are the pain points for the buyers, because they're very different. And what we've done is have two types of programs. And I think we work with, it sounds like you guys are thinking a lot about how to bring farmers together and what some of the advantages or different configurations might be that will help farmers overcome some of these barriers. And we work with a wide range of farmers, from small farmers to sort of medium, even maybe what you would call a big farmer, not like a agro-industrial farming company, but we work with some farmers that are pretty big. We've also worked sort of with formal and informal co-ops and food hubs. So we've found that that whole range of different sort of configurations of farmers in the space are still kind of can benefit from having access to these big buyers. And then on the buying side, when we started in New York, we were focused a lot on sort of very small, like specialty grocers and restaurants. And we began, as we developed as a company, we felt we could make more change by working with these bigger buyers and have a kind of bigger reach. And so our sort of specialty is to work with major retailers. So we have a set of large retail clients. Some of them are national grocers, some of them are regional grocers. And we've developed sort of two programs to target that enables us to kind of capture both the needs of different farmers and then also to kind of appeal to different grocers depending on what their like sales interest is. So we both work with distribution centers. We're making like big, regular, high volume purchases or sales to them on a kind of regular cadence. And then the grocer manages the distribution to their stores. And then we also have a direct to store model. And sometimes that's to grocers, sometimes it's also to I would consider like a institutional cafeteria and other things like that to kind of fall under that, where it'd be like a single farm making a delivery direct to store. And that can be, we feel it's important to have both because we have a lot of smaller farms that just are not really ever going to be ready for a distribution center, or they're not interested in it. So this is a way to kind of meet the needs of a broader network of farmers. We also have kind of been piloting, and I'll go into this in a little bit more detail in a minute, but we've been piloting this like farmers market section in a store. So the farmer does direct to store delivery with a group of other farmers and builds kind of like a whole section. So it's like a program, not just like a single product to the store. So let me tell you a little bit more about like what our distribution center program might look like. We're aggregating across like our whole network of farms. We have, as a farm, builds their profile. We'll have a farm and a buyer build their profile in the system. They can kind of define where they are, what types of products they have, what their delivery capabilities are, and then the buyer will build their profile, identifying the products that they're interested in, their delivery requirements, their certification requirements, and set up all of their accounting systems and inventory systems in the platform. So they'll make a single order that we can aggregate across many farms. And the kinds of farms that are typically in this program are more medium sized. Sometimes we can get a small size farm to pair with a bigger farm to make a delivery to that will help them with delivery, or if they have one product, they can pair it with a delivery of a bigger farm that has like trucks and multiple products. But on average, these are much, much bigger farms. Sometimes with some of our clients, we've been able to do pre-season planning with this. So we'll plan out the whole season, project their quantities across all of the categories they're going to buy, and then communicate that to farms in advance. So we would do that. Where we've been most successful with this is in the Midwest. So we're doing a lot of that planning with our buyers in starting maybe in about a month. And then we'll nail down a lot of those numbers, nail down amounts, prices, and then communicate with farmers as they're buying their seeds. So that has a big benefit for farms as they're planning their season.
Claire?
Yeah.
Can I ask in a case where you're just in a week-to-week cycle, the distribution center is placing a single order. Is that coming to you and then you're figuring out how to meet that order among your network?
Yeah, so let me see. I think I have that kind of on our next
Oh, okay.
slide.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
but that's okay. It shows at least I put them in a logical order then. Yeah, so this would be like an example of what a distribution center order would look like. So we have our buyer on the left. This is as like what I was just talking about a second ago is kind of like pre-season planning. So that would be, we would lay out on basically weekly basis the whole local season for a retailer. Then their needs change a little, right? They have something didn't sell, they have more demand for something. So we'll meet with them on a weekly basis and kind of refine that. But having that preseason planning done gives us also like a target. So even if maybe they don't want to order, they are placing a slightly smaller order, we can kind of use those targets to push to get a bigger order. The buyer would log in, they see our platform that has all the items we've agreed upon for this season. They put in what they need for that. We usually also meet with them. So as this kind of maybe goes back to my point about like it's a tech-enabled system. We do have a platform that can do all of this, but we've found that the human element is really important. So we'll typically have like a short weekly meeting, put in this order, that order is created, and then we take that set of items, which could be a lot of items. I mean, in like the peak of the season, in say like first week of August, it could probably be like 36, 40 items, something like that, with our buyer. And then our system is designed to kind of distribute that across the growers that have these items. So then each of these, they get this big invoice. It's usually done by category manager. So it's typically like you'd have your fruit category manager, your dry veg and wet veg. So there'd be, say, three in a real like grocery situation, there'd be like 3 buyers for that suite of like 40 plus products. And then our platform and our staff work to kind of get that out to all the growers that have that availability for that week. So the growers also, both the buyers and the growers are kind of have this expectation in the distribution center program that we run for what the quantity might be that week. And then it's adapted based on like the reality of the season and the reality of the demand from the actual grocers. That gets split up into a bunch of different little orders on the farm side. But for the buyers, it really has kind of this smooth, simple process that they're used to dealing with a big, like
So are the growers,
commodity grower.
are the growers bidding to get a piece of that action? Or how do you decide how much to give to each grower?
We haven't done it. It's typically limited. Like often, I would say we have a little, it depends, but we usually have a set of kind of criteria that we use to allocate it. And we'd like to make the process like even, I think it's really, we're kind of continually improving our app. And there's a lot of potential right now to do it, like to do better modeling on how to do that and do that in a more like modeled way. We have kind of like a decision tree, very like hierarchical decision tree that we use. And usually we have a few smaller growers that get will not have more. So they get their like what they have available, and then it's kind of filled in with the bigger growers who have often more unlimited quantities. But on the buyer side, it looks like they see they don't see a limit really when they look at this. Like they say we can order as much as we want of this, and then we kind of fill it in on the back end from different growers.
So the growers don't feel like they're competing with one another for.
I don't think so. I mean, they might there might be a little bit of that, but it's usually um we have a lot of conversations about it. We have not tried to do a more like market bid model. The prices at that point in the season, usually when like an order like by the prices are usually set. We have a few products that we don't always get a fixed price on that float over the course of the season. That can be a bit more challenging. Then sometimes it is a bit more of a bid, but we haven't done that. We haven't automated that. Then we have to have a bunch of phone calls to facilitate it. Yeah, and that's kind of typical in melons and pumpkins and things that we can't get that agreed upon price. Let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to cover on this slide. Yeah, so in our distribution center, we both have this kind of formal annual process. Some of that, it's very buyer specific. So with one of our retail customers, it's great because we sit down and have a lot of conversations and they're very committed to having a local program. So, that gives us a lot of opportunity to communicate, what we think is a great grower or great products and like what the price point has to be, what's been challenging about it. Some of our other clients are much bigger and will meet with us regularly, but we still go through a very kind of quantified bid process, which is like fill out a bunch of spreadsheets, submit that. They award that based on, a competitive process. And then we also do spot buying for this. So we're kind of either have buyers logging into our app or maybe we're just sending emails based on what we know is available to these buyers. And the app sort of manages, it contains in it based on this kind of onboarding that we do with farmers and buyers, a lot of the requirements that can be packaging, it can be sanitation, it can be labeling, temperature requirements, or simple things like the structure of invoice or a bill of lading.
And Claire, for this distribution center program, can you talk about what does the product look like to the consumer? Like, is it one unified brand or is it a bunch of different logos for farms or?
So it can be different. It depends. It depends a little bit on the buyer. In our kind of foundation client, which was a regional grocer, Schnucks, they often, interestingly, really just sort of plug this in with their commodity crops. So it's like zucchini. This replaces their zucchini for the summer. However, it's bulk, so it's a bulk, in that case, it's like a bulk purchase, but they will do marketing around that. So it will have a sticker that identifies both Food Shed and the farm. And they might do like a flyer that promotes locals, that they're doing local sourcing. They'll have a website that we provide a lot of like video about the farms. They might have some signage in the store, but it's not like it's still just like in their standard produce section. There are kind of other examples that are different than that one that I just gave. And so this is a different buyer. And in this case, we produced like a branded product for them. And this was called Georgia Sunnies. There's a big growing citrus industry in Georgia, and it's very competitive with Florida now. So we started working with this group of citrus growers, and they had been not working directly with retailers. They'd had like one buyer. So we talked with them about some of the challenges that they were having, some of the products they had available, and we worked to kind of create a group of growers and created this whole brand, Georgia Sunnies, for them. And it's in its second season now. It has 5 products. I think we're going to do a 6th product this year. We'll see. We have a meeting tomorrow. I'll see if that is finally approved, but it's a set of 9 farms. They each grow different things. Some of them have a mix, some of them just have one. So by kind of bringing them together, we were able to get this citrus program approved under the citrus category manager for Kroger. And they did, I think I have a picture of, let's see if this next one has a label. Here you can see a little bit more of the label. So in that case, we did some bulk sales as well, where it would just be that they'd have like a bulk area with and Caracara oranges. We also did bags and these packaged clamshells. So in that case, they're labeled. They say like powered by Food Shed. They have this Georgia Sunny brand. And we did a lot of promotion around this. So we got some local public broadcasting and a chef to feature that. And that went into a DC. So the farmers had one farm who served as sort of their hub farm. They were approved for GAP certification, which is required by the buyer. They also require have a bunch of like labeling requirements as well. So that farm got approved. Food Shed served as the vendor, and the program ran for about 3 months, and it'll run again for about 3 or 4 months this year. So we often kind of support farms on all of that process. We're the registered vendor. We bear the insurance, and our app is integrated with their Kroger's buying app, which manages their POs and invoices. And we don't always do as much of that kind of marketing work as we did on this particular case, but. So then I'll talk a little bit about our direct-to-store model. In this case, sometimes this is a lot more variable because it's serving, sometimes it's a specific item that a retailer is interested in, and just one farm does that. So We've done some mushrooms, some greens on that in that model. And then we've been trying out this new model that's sort of the in-store farmers market. Then sometimes we're just selling to like a single farm, helping a single farm sell to like a university's cafeteria, or we've worked with like processors, like salsa processors, for instance. So in that case, we're still helping a lot with the regular sales outreach. The sales still goes through our platform and often can still have that same integration, which is something that the retailers really value because sometimes those direct to store sales can get a little bit lost. And the category managers, one of the reasons, I think a reason that is sort of underappreciated about why some of the small farms got pushed out of this is that there's real like push for centralization in the grocery industry where things, instead of being managed by the like local produce manager, they wanted like a central office with a central set of standards and sort of to manage things across the whole chain. So by working with us, they get that visibility at the kind of chain level of what's happening at the local store level, which you would think they would have, but they do not always have. So we do sales outreach on both of this sort of direct to store and the distribution model. And then again, we're kind of making sure that the farms are meeting the quality standards and the packing standards.
Yeah, and Claire, a note on that, I would imagine some of these smaller farmers haven't sold to retailers before. How do you prepare them? And what's that
No.
process like?
Yeah, so that I think is one of the big benefits of working with us. So we gather all of that information, which can be really buried, and can cause, I will say that like one bad sale can, if you're delivering for the first time and you have a rejection because you didn't understand, it could just be because you did not understand something about the process and have can really damage the relationship. So we communicate like this is exactly the specs that you need your zucchini to be. So like a zucchini that's like 4 inches, it might be perfect. It might be something that the farmer has great success with at their farmer's market. But the retailer's specs for zucchinis are 6 to 9 inches, and they will reject a load of perfectly good zucchini because they are not within that specs. So we spend a lot of time, it's in the app, and then we also spend a lot of time as before delivery, especially first with a farmer that isn't familiar with the process, explaining, the requirements, this is how the delivery will work, this is, what you need to do, you need to have this temperature sensor, this is how you activate it, we manage the system, we set the appointment, we have their insurance certificate, and we make sure as we're onboarding a farm in the network, we're making sure that they are meeting certain food safety. We'll do like a food safety and sanitation assessment. We often do a farm visit if we can. We'd like to do more kind of tech-enabled things like photos, but we can at least give them examples. We ensure that like the labeling is all correct, the case and packing.
Yeah,
Those are some examples.
I mean, I know I've had farm friends who've been working with the store and then a new store manager comes in and then they have to restart the whole relationship again. So I would imagine just having the account manager, or whatever you would call it, is valuable.
Yeah, and that can be really, there's a lot of turnover. So
Yeah.
for decisions that are being made at the store level, I think sometimes, they lose that connection and then they lose access to the market. And I don't know if I made a slide with this, but I think one of the benefits that the farms see is both getting a lot of those requirements, which can be quite complex, communicated to them in a way that is, easier for them to digest. They don't have to like go through all the systems. It's our staff, works with farms a lot. And then they don't get as good of a price as they're getting in the farmer's market for the produce, but they do get large purchases and pretty stable volume. So especially the farms that have been in our DC program for, I think we're in our like 6th year now. It's, they've been able to grow in that time, and they appreciate having that kind of stable income when they're able to navigate that sales channel, which like isn't right for every farm. And it's
So
the other, I'll show a picture of our other direct to store. This is what our like in-store farmers market is looking like. So in this, we're also really trying to kind of forefront farms brands. So these are smaller farms that they might have like an on-farm market. They might go to farmers markets. So we've done a lot of like signage with this grocer to really get the customers familiar with these farms, because they're in this case, the farms are really local. Sometimes I didn't put a distance, but we take a local definition from the retailer. So it could be, from their state, it could be 150 miles, it could be 250 miles. But in this model with direct to store delivery, typically the farms are within like 40 miles. And so we think it has the benefit of, giving the farms a new market, and also, getting consumers to go out to their farm too, or to their other market channels. Let's see, what else do I have? Going slower than I thought, but you guys are asking questions. Good. I think I only have a few more slides. This is just an example of what our platform looks like. So this is our like administrator. This is like if I log into the platform, this is what I see. I can kind of see units and sales. And then I can see all the different invoices, but it's really helped us to grow a lot without growing our staff very much. I think on the farm and buyer side, they have a very simple and kind of transparent local supply chain. We're working hard on getting ready for FSMA, which is coming up. So we think we're ready to be like also a FSMA auditable supply chain. We provide a lot of different sustainability metrics for the buyers who are thinking about whether they want to purchase from, say, it could be local, but it also could be different like certifications or minority growers. And then it's all customizable to the buyer's requirements and processes. So we try to be flexible to make the process smooth for them.
Claire, this is a little off of a tangent from
Sure.
what the slide is, but you mentioned team, and I'm curious, like, if SJPs were to form some sort of brokerage organization, what sort of expertise would be helpful? Like, what's like a solid team of experts that would be helpful to have on like the staff of the brokerage?
Well, I think you need somebody who understands the food safety requirements and processes. I think accounting and bookkeeping is very important. We're very tech focused, so we have like a tech team that is working on our app and making sure it's kind of consumer ready at all times. Sales is important. I would also say on that side, kind of communications, being able to do that marketing piece. Our retailers work on that as well, but we often provide a lot of that for them. So I think, or try to get them thinking about it creatively.
Cool.
So those would be a few pieces, and then it helps to have the farms, but these guys would be all set on that. Having farm experience, I think, is valuable for our team. But the sales piece takes a really long time. I mentioned at the beginning that I think the produce industry is like a sort of slow adopter, slow to change, hard to disrupt. And I think you have to kind of be willing to, deal with that churn rate that you mentioned. There's a lot of turnover. So, and then just keep pushing and be willing to try different sales channels. So, we know the farmers prefer that like stable planned purchase. That's not always possible. So we might try to do that first, but then we'll also push like spot buys and see, if we can get some other sales for farms that way.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a question? Yeah,
Mhm.
on, for delivery, how are you using your own trucks and drivers, or are you hiring out to do the pickup and delivery?
We do a mix. So when we started Food Shed, we did a lot of the delivery and we've moved away from that. It was our network is it's very big now and too spread out. So we often work with farms that have delivery capabilities, and many of them are willing to do deliveries for other growers. So then we'll find kind of a hub farm. We also work with just delivery, providers. So we
Mhm.
hire that. Sometimes that's a really good deal. Sometimes it's expensive. We also work with the retailers to do backhauls. So if our farms are well located, then in their routes, then we can have an empty truck leaving a store pick up on the way back to the distribution center and deliver it that way. So it really depends on the needs of the farm, where they're at, how big they are. But we don't provide our own delivery anymore. We did that when we were in New York.
Yeah, it's interesting. A couple of the other speakers have, like, we've had sort of varying, uh, I guess, like programs on like having a fleet or not. And I would imagine not having your own fleet would lower some costs at least.
Yeah, it's very expensive and there's so many places that specialize in it. But I do think it is changing because we've seen increasing costs for that too. So, and we've been able to do backhauls with some, it really depends on the buyer. Some of the buyers are very open to doing backhauls. And then for other buyers, it's like a big business for them on the side now to sell that space. So I think even when we started, it really not was not a revenue line for them. And for some of them, they've started to see it as a revenue line. And so had been very willing to just give us that space. And then it's becoming more expensive. And we don't do that with all of our buyers. I think this is kind of this might be my last slide, but we see a lot of benefits if you can navigate this difficult space between many small and medium-sized growers and these big buyers. You can get local food to a really broad set of consumers at an affordable cost, can reduce food miles and mission challenges and the missions associated with those like long nationwide supply chains, and promote more sustainable practices, bring money back to local economies.
So it seems like there's a lot of benefits and services you all provide. How does Food Shed make money? How do you cover all your costs?
Yeah, so I mean, like a traditional broker, we are not a nonprofit. We're a business, and like a traditional broker, we make most of our money off of just a percentage. I think there's potential for us to kind of sell our platform in some way. That percentage, comes from the buyer. The farmers can join our network, be in our network at no cost, but we take a percentage sale off of the buyer.
And I guess that probably varies per buyer.
Yes. Did I
Yeah.
unsave this? I can't tell, sorry. Yes, it varies. So I know there's some networks that do a fixed percentage. We do that in some cases, but we've typically we have a more variable. We found that a more variable percentage works better, and that enables us to take like a very small percentage on some of the items that are extremely low margin, and then bigger percentage on higher margin items. And that gives us like I think a much more complete program. I think one of the nice things about it is that we can like do local sourcing for a really wide range of items for a buyer and work with a range of farms. And I think if we had the fixed percentage, we might not be able to do that.
Cool.
So are your percentages then comparable to what the bigger aggregators would charge, or are you able to get a bit of a premium because of the local quality?
Um,
That's a good question. We often have to compete. We're competing with them, and we often, especially with some of our biggest clients, we do have to sell right around the same price. Sometimes we can get a small, and especially over time, I think we've been able to get a premium price, but it is challenging in the space, competing with the big growers the premium is small. I think we've been able to get a premium in some cases, but it is small.
Yeah, so I would imagine there's a lot of like education almost that you're doing with retailers.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I think one of the most basic things that we've done is kind of educate retailers about like what the actual local availability is of produce in their region, and and the quality of product that's available. So often like the growers will have a very rigid idea about when the local season is. And in the Midwest, that's like July, July and August. And so we have worked very hard to kind of stretch that definition. So I think when we started, we had one greenhouse product, and then they were featuring like local produce for about 2 months. So we've really extended that with our kind of foundation client in the Midwest, so that they're buying year round, both greenhouse and other items that are available year round. And then they might still mainly promote their local season during that like peak Midwestern growing season, but they start buying in like kind of early season crops in May, and then they go all the way through December and January with like storage crops and things that farmers are growing in tunnels and stuff. And then we
I
put a
saw-
lot back on the requirements. So like my zucchini example from earlier, we really do try to push that they should have a more expansive definition of what the high quality item is that they're missing out if they want everything to be exactly the same size.
It's funny with zucchini. It's funny, yes, in a grocery store, you often will see from one week to the next, different size zucchini, but all the zucchini are the same
All the
size.
same, yeah.
I did see when you showed us a picture of the app and the navigation page or whatever it is that you see,
Mhm.
it showed that seasonal, like there was a bar chart with
Oh, yeah.
revenue.
We still have a strong seasonal revenue trend. I
Yeah.
think we're expanding because our first, and I think that was an old screenshot from when we had maybe one main buyer. We now have been working with another buyer with some reach in the Southeast and Texas.
Mhm.
And that for us has benefited us as well to have other growing seasons in our network, because when we first started, we were probably making like 80% of our revenue during like 3 months. But
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe
it's
when
like
working in
the citrus.
California is gonna change that seasonality.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we haven't worked much in California ourselves because it's so dominated by the big farms, but
Yeah. Right. I mean, people say land is expensive in New Jersey, but I think farmland in California, given that so much of it has been turned into subdivisions, um, they must all be in the Central Valley now. There used to be farms in my neighborhood where I grew up in Orange County, and it's called Orange County because there used to be oranges. There
Wow,
aren't
yeah.
anymore. There are no orange farms in
Yeah,
New
that's
in Orange
in
County.
Orange County anymore.
Hmm. Well, any other questions for Claire? I know it's top of the hour, so.
Oh yeah, we're getting close. So how big is your team altogether? I take it you work all over the place. You're not all in one in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah, so I'm based in Madison, and we have people we had staff in Missouri, in Montana, in Washington. So we're pretty dispersed. We have just a few full-time people. We have 3 full-time
Is that all?
staff. Mhm. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 part-time staff.
Wow.
8, maybe 8.
You must be very efficient.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I think we have been impressed that we've been able to scale up our sales quite a bit without really growing our team much.
I mean,
Mhm.
it does seem like the unique piece here compared to who else we've talked to in a similar space is the tech piece. So would you say that that sort of fills in maybe some
Yes.
staff time?
Yes, I think it's helped a lot. It's really streamlines. It's a lot of connections that you have to make to bring all these small growers in to make sales. And we have found in the past year, we've really scaled up this direct to store delivery, and we haven't added really any staff to do that. And I think that is very much facilitated by our tech platform.
But you still have to recruit farmers in the first place. So what method do you use for that, given that you're not all in one place?
Yeah, so, and we do like to do farm visits if possible. Although sometimes if we do work with groups of farms, sort of like
Oh, they're already
farmer
people that are
group.
already organized.
And so if they're already organized, then sometimes, you can visit a couple of them and sort of evaluate the network and whether they're a good fit. But we do a lot of outreach by phone. When we first started, we went to farm conferences and kind of met farms that way. We haven't done that as much lately, but I think that would, we just applied. We've also not been grant funded. I think some of the other places that you've been speaking with have had grant
Oh, yeah,
funding. We did
definitely.
recently, we've applied for a couple grants. If we got grant and some of those, we would probably do a little more in-person farm outreach than we've been able to do. We do a lot of phone-based outreach initially, and then we'll identify an area, and that's sort of where the food shed piece comes in, which I didn't really define, but once we have some interest from a buyer that we know is wanting to like expand that their local sourcing or is looking to grow their farmers network in different ways, we will do outreach in that food shed, and we'll try to build a network of farms within that buyer's space. And we like to have that kind of anchor big retail buyer then we can kind of fill in with other things like smaller buyers that if we find farms that are great, but aren't probably interested in selling directly to that particular buyer that we have in the area. But that's been what we've done as like an incentive for sort of building out the farm network in that area. And it's usually cold calling initially, a set of phone conversations, and then we have them sign up and kind of get more fully onboarded and work with them a lot before they make a sale.
Mhm. And the other question I had is, you talked a little bit about the requirements, so it sounds like each buyer is gonna have their own set of requirements,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got to keep track of all of those and align them with the farmers that are supplying that particular
Yeah,
buyer.
yep, exactly.
Yeah,
And so that's what we use, our kind of operations team works with the buyers to sort that out, and then kind of works with the buyers to get their profile set in our app. And then that's what our app is really tailored towards
that's where you keep track of that stuff
intricacies
in
of
the
the
app.
produce,
Okay.
of the produce industry and its requirements. So we would keep track of that in the app, and then it can kind of filter available product and producers based on those criteria.
Ah, okay. And this is an app that you created yourselves.
Yeah, we have a development team that
Mhm.
built the app. It has like a back end that is has been customized for this specific use case.
Yeah, that's great.
And then it links with we have like direct connections with things like QuickBooks, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. So we don't do all of our accounting in the app. The app is really designed for sort of being like a seamless interface for buyers and sellers, and then it can export that data to different systems. So on our end, like the accounting would be handled in QuickBooks. It exports data to like Transcepta, iTrades, things that the buyers use. And then we can communicate in different ways with the farmers. So they can log into the app on their desktop, they can log into it on their phone, they can accept an order on via text message. So a lot of it, the farms can also tailor how they interact with the
That's great.
sales.
I'm impressed that you had anything to communicate with QuickBooks successfully.
Was a bit of a hassle. And initially I was like, oh, this would be great. We could offer this to all the farms, but I think we could still offer it, but we really would have to like sit with them on a
Yeah.
call to onboard that. I think we would have to, and now they've added a fee to it also on top of
Oh, they have?
a fee for the connection. Yeah, just in the last few months.
And we gave up on the idea of trying to integrate our Salesforce and QuickBooks
Oh,
because
really?
it was clear that for both sides, it was just going to be impossible
Oh,
without
man.
having. Now you're working with your own proprietary platform, so that helps in that you're not having to go through all the protections
Yeah.
that both sides have created in our case. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is very helpful to have.
Yeah, right. That's one of those efficiencies.
Mhm.
You're not having to enter all the data manually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all that data gets produced because I didn't really show the numbers, but like this year as we've added a lot of direct to store deliveries, we've had like, I think almost 800 deliveries this year.
Mhm. Right.
A lot
$2 million
to
in revenue.
manage.
So it's a lot. And I didn't look at how many products, but I think it's probably like
100.
100,
Yeah.
75, 100 different items, a lot of
Wow.
different farms. So it's would be a mess if you were entering it manually.
Yeah.
then you would have to have a data entry person. So maybe you should consider a data entry person as
Oh, we do.
as important team member.
We've got more than one data entry person.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's very interesting. Well, it's really impressive what you all have accomplished in a short period of time.
Yeah, with a small team.
Thanks. Yeah. And yeah, we haven't worked in New Jersey, but we recently got interest from one of our retail clients to expand to Pennsylvania. So
Yeah.
we're hopefully coming back to the
Woohoo.
Northeast.
So at the moment, you aren't doing anything in New York?
No, we haven't been working in New York lately.
It's a different beast to tackle, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Well, this is really helpful. We're trying to figure out what all the options are for our collaborative farmers who they want to increase their markets and find less expensive ways to market their produce
Mhm.
and less time consuming ways than say farmers markets. And being able to see what people have done successfully with different variations on basic ideas of aggregation and food hubbing and brokering, there's so many different variations that people have come up with and made work. It's been really interesting. And ultimately, we all have to decide what we want to do.
Right.
That will
And
be
you don't have to do just one thing either.
true.
No.
But I think we want to start with one thing.
Yeah.
See if we can make that work.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for your time, Claire.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you, Claire.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
our farmers will enjoy watching this recording, so.
all right. Well, it was a